Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Well, today you join me in my old 1995 Jeep Cherokee and I'm on my way to go and pick up a Mercedes SLK 230 compressor that I bought for just 1,500 quid. It's a late 2002 Mercedes SLK and it's done around 90,000 miles. I bought it the other day, and before you ask, no, I haven't set up a nail salon. I bought it because I thought, what great value that is. At £1,500 for, I know it's 20 years old now, but it just looks like great value. You know, the funny thing is, I've probably overpaid. Those old Mark 1 SLKs are virtually worthless, which is a shame because I think fundamentally they're decent cars. I've had loads of them over the years. I even took one down to Spain once, an old 1997 on a P. Okay, they're not great sports cars, but they are fairly well built, they've got nice interiors, and they've got that very clever folding metal roof. Shall we go and see it then? Actually, first, I've got to go and pick up, do you remember my old SC430, my old Lexus SC430? Well, it's ready at the gearbox place. I've had a gearbox service done on it. That project's nearly done, actually. I've just got to get it properly detailed, and then I'll do a follow-up video with it. So right now I'm going to go and drop this Jeep off, pick up the Lexus, then drive the Lexus to the car park where the SLK is parked. That probably answers many of your questions, actually, because people always ask me how I get from one car to the other. It's a bit of a logistical nightmare, but it's just, I end up doing a bit of a round robin. There are always cars scattered all over the northwest that I need to go and pick up, and it usually means swapping one for another one. I'll take one for an MOT, then there'll be one ready at the MOT place that needs to go for a gearbox service, there'll be one ready at the gearbox place that needs to go for a valet. You get the picture. Invariably, there's always one left in a pub car park or a train station car park that I've totally forgotten about. I had this the other day actually with a little Fiat 500. About 6 months ago, I'd given it to a local Fiat specialist to get it repaired, and I'd completely forgotten about it. My colleague at the garage called me up the other day to say, right Matt, you've had your Fiat 500 dropped off, it's all repaired. So I said, what Fiat 500? He said, you know, the little purple coloured one. I don't know what you're talking about. You do, you dropped it off back in November last year. I was thinking, I honestly can't remember. Anyway, eventually the penny dropped and it was indeed my car. It makes sense actually because when I was last doing my books, I'd gone backwards $3,500 and I couldn't work out for the life of me why. Anyway, it was that Fiat 500. That's kind of the nature of this job. Anyway, I'm rambling. Let's go and pick up the SC430, shall we? Okay, slight change of plan. The Lexus SC had a flat battery, so that idea went out the window. I think I'll have to add battery onto the long list of things that I've already spent on that car. But I'll deal with that another day. So I'm back in the Jeep, and here is the SLK. My God, what on earth has happened here? It is bling-tastic. Look at the state of that. It looks like it's driven through a Halfords. It's got the wrong wheels on. It's got the wrong grille. It's got what appears to be tinfoil on the bottom part of the spoiler. What on earth? Bodywork looks all right though. Shall we go and have a look? Put ourselves out of our misery. Well, here she is then. Got two sets of keys, which is always a good start. 90s era switchblade Mercedes keys. But look at the state of these wheels. Cruise. They are atrocious. I just don't know where people get these ideas from. It's got the wrong grille. And yeah, look at this. Looks like tinfoil. Who thought that was a good idea? Apart from that, it's actually not a bad looking thing. Was this Mars Red? I think it was Mars Red. Now this era of Mercedes always had issues with corrosion, and this is no different. Not the worst one I've ever seen, but it is starting to go on the arches. Yeah, what a pity. And the same with the rear, ever so slightly, starting to bubble. We've got matching Delinte tyres. With about 5mm of tread, so that's good. Does the central locking work? Oh, it does. Full black leather. That's actually quite a nice interior. Electric seats. Factory mats. Not bad actually. Not bad at all. I quite like this trim as opposed to the wood effect or whatever. Not a bad looking thing, is it, that? Boots nice and clean. Let's fold this back and see if the roof works, shall we? That's got to be in that position, otherwise the roof won't fold back. Oh yeah, they always rust around the number plate. Can you see that? They always go in the same places. And there. This Mercedes-Benz shouldn't have happened, should it? You should have recalled every single model and treated the rust properly and repainted them, rather than risk the reputation. Yeah, a bit of scabbiness going on there. But it isn't the worst one I've seen, like I say. It's not the worst one. I'll tell you what, before we go any further, let me do a vehicle history check. So what I'm going to do is go onto carvertical.com, type in the vehicle reg, P052. It's 20 years old, this car. Get report. Here we go, it's just loading now. This kind of check's important just to make sure that it's not been in an accident, there's no outstanding finance on it, not wanted by the police. Although this one might be wanted by the style police. I could start a new series here, like unpimp my ride, de-pimp my ride. Get some original wheels, get the original grille, remove the tinfoil from the front bumper. Oh yes, I can see it now. Right, the report is ready. So, they've checked the database in 27 countries. Review this. So, the mileage is fine, it's not been stolen, never been in any accidents, no outstanding finance. It was first registered in September 02. And it also shows you every single MOT, which is quite handy. Let's go to the most recent one. Most recent MOT was November last year. Near side front brake pipe corroded, covered in grease. Near side front brake disc worn. That's unusual. It's only got one side brake disc worn rather than both. Oil leak but not excessive. Rear subframe corroded but not seriously weakened, and rear shock absorbers corroded. Well, that's not bad going for a 20-year-old car, is it? So it's all clear on all of those fronts. It gives you the valuation too. So the approximate market value of this is £2,000. Winner, winner. Time it takes to sell this model on average, 34 days. It's a 2.3 automatic petrol. The road tax is £360 a year. That's quite helpful. Like I say, it's so important that you do a vehicle history check. Let's have a look inside then, shall we? Well, it has done 89,012 miles, which is nothing really for a 20-year-old car, is it? I love this era of Mercedes. Let's start it up then. Engine light comes on, so no one's take that up. That light is always on for some reason. On this era of SLK, it's always on. Got it on a Crossfire too. Turn the fan off. Oh yeah. No warning lights, barring the fuel and my handbrake. No lights on. That's a result. Sounds quite sweet. They always sound exactly the same, these engines. I do quite like this trim. Oh, look at that. Coin holder that somebody's chosen not to use. Has it been smoked in? Once or twice, probably. It's in very good condition, this, you know. Very good condition. There's some dog hairs there in the centre console area. That's unusual. What kind of dog would fit into that little area? Should we see what they were listening to? Gadio, but a Lighthouse family, right? I think the previous owner then might have been a friend of Dorothy's. Mould in there. A little tray. I was expecting pop-out cup holders, and I remembered this model doesn't have any. Well, I'm quite impressed. For £1,500, having said that, I haven't driven it yet, have I? Or checked the roof. Oh my, look at that. Oh my word, look at that. It's got an aftermarket rear view mirror. That doesn't. That is the sound of Chinese quality. That's terrible. Why don't you just leave the original one in? Stop messing around with the car. Should we try the roof? Let's try the roof then, shall we? I'll spin you around so you can see. Pressing the button. Oh, hang on. Right. Let's try and open it then. That's not a good sign, is it? Right, so the roof doesn't work. It lights up when I close it. Then when I try and open it, nothing happens at all. I'm sure I'm doing that right. The tray's open in the back. Handbrake's on. The engine's running. It's in gear. It's not like I'm trying to do it on the move. Nothing. Nothing at all. So I've got a convertible that isn't a convertible. Terrific. The windows work, but not the roof. Well, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this now then. You win some, you lose some, don't you? Shall we take it for a drive and see what it drives like? Right, so we're driving the 20-year-old SLK. Straight away it drives all right. Nothing obviously wrong with it, apart from the roof. So what I've bought here is a bright red, blinged up convertible that doesn't convert. Very switched on, aren't I, sometimes? Very switched on. To be honest though, what attracted me to this was the mileage. To say it's only done 89,000 miles in 20 years is quite impressive. But a quick flick through the service history and it kind of stops in 2012. I'm guessing that's when the ownership changed. It's had 7 owners total, 7 owners, which for this kind of car isn't that unusual. Sporty things like this always seem to have multiple owners because people buy them because it's a bit of a bucket list thing. Oh, fancy a sports car, I'm going to get one. Then they get one and realise they never use it. So they keep it for a year or two trying to justify it, and then in the end, they let it go. The condition of the interior is in really good shape actually. For a 20-year-old car, there's almost no wear on the steering wheel, no wear on any of the buttons, no holes in the mats. The glove compartment still works. It's all quite good really. I suppose I'll have to look into that roof, won't I, and figure out what's wrong with it. The trouble is they're that complicated, there are so many different sensors. It could be one of those faulty sensors, or it could be something simple like a fuse, but I doubt it. It could be the motor itself even. And the good thing is, because they're that old now, you'll be able to pick up parts cheaply enough on eBay or at scrapyards. But it goes well. She picks up her skirt. It's quite a nice day here today. It'd be nice to have the roof down, wouldn't it? Oh well, can't have it all, can you? I bought one of these years ago from the UK when I was living in Spain, and I flew over, picked it up, and then drove it all the way back with a mate of mine. I was actually supposed to buy a Porsche Boxster, so I'd booked my flights to leave Malaga and fly into Manchester. I'd spoken to the seller of the Boxster, and he described it as being very nice and blah, blah, blah. And then I did an HPI check on it, and it turned out it was a Cat D, meaning it had been written off and then repaired. So I pulled out the purchase of that, and then I was scouring the internet, and I couldn't find another nice Boxster. So in the end, I opted for just a cheap SLK, and I also bought an X5 at the same time. So I did 2 trips in one. I drove the SLK back with my pal, and the X5 I left at an auntie's house, and then came back for that about 3 weeks later. And that actually turned out to be the better purchase rather than just one Boxster. They're quite reliable cars, these, on the whole. The gearboxes are pretty solid, the engines are pretty solid. The compressors can fail, but you can pick up used ones or refurbish ones fairly cheaply. The biggest drama is always rust. It just isn't worth repairing. You could spend £1,200 getting this car repainted, or more, and it would just come back. Unless you find one that's either been garaged its whole life, or you buy one from a warm climate. They're just all the same. Well, I've just hit a spot of traffic, and I'm running low on fuel, so I think that'll be the end of my test drive for today. So thank you once again for watching. If you've got any recommendations as to how I could fix this roof, or what it could possibly be, then let me know in the comments below. So yeah, cheers guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Right guys, before you disappear, I've got a quick update for you, and it's good news. Watch this. I've only got a convertible that actually converts. How good's that? It takes a few seconds longer than I would like, but it works. Let me put it back up actually before anybody sees me. I've got some explaining to do. I can't quite believe my luck because I've had a proper result with this car. Shortly after filming the last bit, I took it straight to my Mercedes specialist just to get them to check out the roof, because I thought it might be something simple. Anyway, when I got down to SPR Autos in Stockport, I explained the roof wasn't working, and they pulled all kinds of faces. They said usually that's something serious. They said usually when somebody's roof doesn't work, it's quite an expensive job. So I left there thinking, oh well, I've just bought another lemon, another convertible that doesn't convert into a convertible. But about 12 hours later, the following morning, they called me with good news. They said, right mate, your little SLK's ready. So I thought, this can't be right. I was expecting like £1,000 worth of job for a new motor, a new roof mechanism, all that sort of stuff. Anyway, it turned out to be the switch. This little switch right there. They even admitted themselves at SPR that it's so unusual for it to be something so simple. I think the switch was about £50 and the diagnostic charge was about £50 to tell me what was wrong with it. Which means £101 later, I've now got a little SLK with a clever origami roof. The next thing I did, because the rest of the car's so tidy, I know it's got a few scabby bits of bodywork, but the interior is very tidy and it drives very well. I thought I'll run it down to my local mechanics and just see if it'll pass an MOT. Because if I were to advertise this at this time of year with a functioning roof with 12 months MOT, it's got to be worth £3,000 or so. Again, I drove it down there with some trepidation thinking, this is 20 years old, it'll be rotten as a pear underneath, it's going to get absolutely condemned. But I was wrong again, and my luck continued. This passed its MOT with no advisory items, and it only needed minimal things doing to it. You're going to let me go on? Sorry, hang on a minute. I can probably go through there if I get over here, can I? No? No? Okay. Cheers, flower. So it only needed minimal things to pass its MOT, and when I say minimal things, I mean seriously minimal things. I think it needed a couple of bulbs, there was a heat shield that was loose that needed to be stuck back into position, and there was a hanger that needed welding back into place, and that was it, on a 20-year-old Mercedes SLK. While it was down there with its fresh MOT, I asked them to do a minor service, so it's had fresh oil and a fresh oil filter. They actually said when they drained the old oil out, it didn't look that bad, as if it's been done in the last year or two. Which makes me think that this car actually has more service history than the service book lets on. So how good's that? I'm over the moon with it. Perhaps I shouldn't be reading while I'm driving, but my total bill at my mechanics was £127.20, plus the MOT, that was £50, that's £177, plus £101 at SPR, that's £278. On top of the £1,500 that I paid, plus a quick wash and dry at the local car wash, this car now owes me about £1,800. So if I can get anywhere near £3,000 for it, it should leave me a healthy profit of around 1,200 quid. Winner, winner, what's that saying? So I think, ladies and gentlemen, I've won one for a change. How good's that? It's quite a nice feeling buying something that isn't absolutely condemned, isn't it? It really is a game of snakes and ladders, this job. Some days you go forward a couple of grand and some days you go backwards a couple of grand. It's that dramatic. Yes, alright, it's still a little bit scabby in a couple of places, but I think for a cheap convertible for the summer, I don't think anyone's going to care too much. It's an awful lot of flash for somebody for not a lot of cash. I still think it looks good. I walked towards it before to go out filming with it, and I noticed the bulges in the bonnet, and I thought, it's quite a good looking car, that. I do quite like this era of SLK, although I wouldn't really want to own one myself. I prefer the SLK's bigger brother, the full-fat SL. So anyway, thank you once again for watching. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done already. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'll leave the link below. If you've got any comments or questions, let me know below, and I'll do my best to get back to you. So yeah, cheers guys. I'll see you next time.